So my name is Victoria Bard, founder of createYES, Your Essential Self, and you are here, all of you here watching and listening in the Evolve Up room as part of Convergence. So my guest this evening is Kelly Weiss, and Kelly is a visionary guide, a creative storyteller, a leadership coach, and founder of Visionary Sessions. Kelly applies her gifts of vision clarity and delivering emerging business models to support visionaries and change makers in taking a whole systems approach to creating systems level change, not working at the many people, cutting off the leaves, but you're going right to the root. So Kelly, say more about your background and what inspired you to start working at the level of visionary systemic change.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it sounds like a big thing, so which it is, especially using those words, systemic change. So what really the beginning of my journey and what has part of compelled me to actually give this presentation is a visionary, an individual that's a visionary. They're also called a change maker, a pioneer, an innovator, a leader, an entrepreneur back in the days when there weren't as many entrepreneurs. So really that journey begins from birth. So it's something or it's someone that you're born. And that's a really important fact. And until I knew that, I have to admit that my life was a little bit more disempowered than it could have been. So over the past, throughout my whole career, which has been in marketing and design, so my gift is really around being able to go into a company, which is how I began my career. You go to their website, you had no idea what they did. So to really go in there, understand, tell a story, understand the audience and really put together a whole picture of how that organization not only benefits the customer, but also the world. So I always worked within the storytelling, branding, marketing strategy space, and I seem to attract visionaries. So the people that I worked with and the organizations were innovators. And I did start in the corporate world in Australia and the UK and Canada. And then towards the end of living in Canada, I started working with startups. So in the disruptive technology space, so people that were doing things, in the very beginning. So blockchain when it first came out, AI, VR, AR when it first came out. So working with a lot of people like that and realizing that there was something inside of me that made me realize that I wasn't here to just support people like that, but I actually was a visionary. So that discovery and that acknowledgement, that being able to make that my truth, that was a journey in itself. So what I realized was that it can't only be me that is this person that has a vision for a better world and has the associated struggles of being a visionary, which I will go through. I realized that there's so many people out there that are here to do something really big, that have these amazing gifts and talents, and they can see that the world can be much better than it is, and they know that they're here to contribute. So if there's so many people that are out there that are not living according to that, that are doing something else, which I will go through the journey and how that works, then I felt this responsibility that, well, it's not only me that needs to go through this stage of realization and expansion, but I feel really compelled to remind other people why they're here and of their visionary journey.
What might someone be experiencing in their life? What might their life look like if they're actually a visionary leader and not stepping into those shoes, not knowing those shoes, not recognizing those shoes? What might that pattern look like?
Okay. Well, earlier this year when I was speaking with Ben Bowler, founder of Unity Earth, and I was talking about this, it came up. He mentioned obviously the hero's journey, so Joseph Campbell's work. And he suggested, why don't you uncover what the visionary's journey is? So that was at the beginning of the pandemic in March. So over the past few months, I've been able to really put together this new body of work of what I believe the visionary's journey is from my own experience, from me using my intuition and, you know, downloading information, and then also confirming it with other visionaries. So what I've identified, so I will have some more visuals around this, but just, I'll start with the highlights. So as I said, visionaries are born that way, okay? So it's not something that you necessarily go learn, or, you know, that you have to give your power away to somebody else. You just need to claim and know that you are a visionary to start with. And there's often characteristics when you're a child that you are a visionary. So some of them are that you're born with unique gifts. You may be more intelligent, you may be more mature, a bit more advanced. I'm happy to talk about my journey in that aspect a little bit later. And the other thing to notice, unlike the hero's journey, which seems to be more circular, right? And then it just restarts and restarts, is the visionary's journey is really a journey of expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. So in the beginning, very expanded, very contracted, and then you expand a little bit, contract, and then it just becomes less and less until you're fully in expansion. So really it's a journey of starting from an expanded energetic expression, and then just working through the contraction until it's no longer there. And the other thing to notice is that simultaneously, the pathway of the visionary, there's an internal reality, so your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and then there's the external reality, so how the outside world actually shows up, and then how that affects your own internal reality. So I was able to break down how that changes. So really, I've identified that there are 4 stages of a visionary, and you can also look at it in years, okay? So I've put it together, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this way. So if you're somebody that wasn't supported, meaning that you didn't have like a entrepreneurial family, or you weren't around other visionaries, then it's more likely the journey how it was. And I did mention as part of the title that I believe that the journey is shifting a little bit. So it's more likely that you will be in stage 3 out of the 4 once you get to 40. So I'm approaching 40, and that matches where I am. And then you're in stage 4, which is the last stage where it's fully realized, 50 plus, okay? However, I believe that with what's happening, cheers to everyone that's over 50. However, I do want to say that the next part of what I'm going to talk about, how the journey is changing, once I tell you what the journey is, it's going to be more accelerated. So you don't have to wait that long. You can be 21, you can be a lot younger to actually reach stage 4. So did you want me to briefly go through the 4 stages?
Yes, absolutely. That would be a great, a great step. Know the steps.
Okay, so what I can do is...
Would you like to share screen? Do you have slides?
Yes,
Okay.
I will find the right... So at the moment it's in text format, just to map everything out. So let me just find the right page here.
And while you're looking, I will just say that from looking at your website, your KellyAnnWeiss.com website, you have 3 awakened steps to creating evolutionary impact through business: to hold a vision for humanity, to lead with heart, and to co-create awakened business principles. And I really like that. It's a little, not quite this topic right now, but I wanted to bring that up while you were looking for your slides.
Oh, thank you so much.
Maybe they fit in, maybe they don't, but.
Yeah, I do want to mention, I'll go through the journey, and then there's a very important catalyst in my life which really led to the calling that this is the work that I need to do. Okay. So I'll mention that next. So in the meantime, so you can see my screen here.
Yeah.
Okay, so stage 1, which is usually from birth until 20, is... So we're looking at the first column here, which is from up to 10 years of age. So you're born with superpowers, so that could be really intuitive, invisible gifts, visible gifts, unique gifts. You have visions, you've got a really strong energy. So you're like this bright light. Often, you might be a bit hard for your parents to handle. You're very different. You stand out in society. So I'm describing my life. I was I guess a child genius. So I was many years ahead in school. I taught myself how to read music and play piano before YouTube was there. Like, I just knew how to do it. I could only associate with people 10 to 20 years older than me since I was a child, because I couldn't relate to children. So there's some of the characteristics. You may have some of them. It doesn't mean you have to have all of them. So yeah, unique personality gifts. And from 11 till 20, you know, when you're thinking and being taught how things put together, you often question, like, why is that done that way? It doesn't make sense. Why can it be done that way? So you can see the faults in the system, and not from a negative point of view, but actually come up with solutions. So you're already innovating and coming up with solutions from a young age. The emotions that are associated with stage 1, because as I said, you're already expanded, is excitement, energized, clear, driven, curious. So you know that you're here to do something big. Like, you've got so many ideas and energy and people to talk to. And so it's quite an exciting stage. The conflicts are that you're seeking outside approval, resonance, and validation, which is quite normal when you're in those childhood years. And that's when some of the challenges can happen. So the external reality is you don't feel understood by society or other children. You've got so many questions. As you get a little bit older, society doesn't quite accept your ideas. And then you get into this, you know, ends of school, coming into university, coming into career, pressure to conform. Where do I fit in? You know, this is back when entrepreneurism was not easily accessible for me when I finished university. So I didn't think I had a choice except to just, you know, climb the corporate ladder and wear a suit and get a marketing job, which is what I did. And it's then when you learn to start to quieten down. So, all right, people don't understand my gifts and my light and what I want to share. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to just fit in with society. So if you do not contract, the opportunities are that you can accelerate through your education path. You can choose the entrepreneurial pathway rather than the traditional career pathway. And you can meet other visionaries who see your potential and that will support you. So none of that happened to me. But that is an opportunity for people to accelerate through the first stage. The second one is from 20 to 40, which is where I'm in now, towards the end of that. So you may be in a traditional career, a little bit lost, not sure, but the calling still is there. It doesn't go away. It amplifies. It may not be exactly clear what it is, but I'm here to make the world a better place. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to use my gifts. I'm not just here to make money. You get more visions coming through. And then, you know, you have these gifts, but again, you have to tone them down a little bit. People don't get it. They don't understand. You stand out too much. And then you start to lose acceptance of your gifts and talents because you've toned yourself down so much to fit in. And if we look at coming down to the external reality, that you've been presenting your ideas still, and you're being discouraged and misunderstood. So that's, again, that starting to expand, and then that contraction again is happening. So in a way, you might give up a little bit, just have a traditional career. You look for answers outside of yourself and power outside of yourself. You may go on a big journey of self-exploration like I did. I went to 50 countries, lived in 5 countries, studied all the isms, Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism. So, you know, there might be like this big exploration going on to be like, where do I fit in? Why am I so different? Why is this, how do I fit into the world? And then you get more embedded into societal structures that, you know, don't resonate with you. So it's like you're losing your visionary aspect. And if we go to 31 to 40, you are unfulfilled with the work you're doing. You may be good at it, it may be fun, but it's not your purpose. You start to join groups, trying to find acceptance, fit in. Your gifts continue to resurface. They become more applied into your life. The calling gets stronger. And from an external reality, you decide, you realize that you are different and you accept it and you start to embrace it and start to walk your own path a little bit more if you haven't already. You do the expansion again where you present your ideas, you give it another go. People may accept it a bit, so you may tone it down a little bit, but it's still bigger than what it was before, how you could present it. And you look for other visionaries. So the emotions here in the second stage of frustration, impatience, feeling defeated, unfulfilled. So rather than that excitement, you go into that frustrated, because all that energy and that vision and that intelligence, it's still there, but you've repressed it. And then we go, so the opportunities that could be that even if you don't have support, you prioritize your vision and you co-create with other visionaries. So stage 3, 40 to 41 to 50, or before that, is that's it. You're done with selling out, you're done with not being the light that you are and being aligned to your purpose, and you prioritize it. You realize that everything you did in the past, even if it felt frustrated or that you were repressed, you realize it's all relevant. All the skills, all the lessons, everything that you learnt and built up is perfect for you right now to launch as a visionary, or if you've already been a visionary, to go deeper. So there's this acceptance, you know, we get rid of that frustration and we go more into the emotions of excitement. They come back, drive. But now we have that more mature energies of patience, trust, allowing. We come more into the heart space. We don't need outside approval. And not only that, but because we've gone on our own journey and we've seen that there's other people in the same position, we feel encouraged to want to support them, remind them of who they are. So the external reality is you meet other visionaries, you co-create, you have allies, you fully launch your vision or you re-evolve it. There's more understanding in society that can actually apply your vision and start working with it. And then so then we've got the opportunity to co-lead systems level change and innovate on your vision even more. So could it go further than what it was? And start working with more ascended tools that were available than when you first had your vision. Technology, working from the heart, other types of collective energy. And then the later years, which is stage 4, which can happen before 50, is the implementation, the innovation, continuing the journey, working with others. The awakening is happening. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. And you're on mute, Victoria, so.
You are describing my life. You're too much for other people. You have to tone it down. And, talk in my school. People didn't like that, brainiac, and so much. So you're describing the contraction, and then the coming back out. Nope, like a hedgehog. Nope, time to go back. That's quite a pattern. And here I am in my 50s, expanding out again.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I was speaking with my friend Sherry Herden, who a lot of people know here, and she's a pioneer. She's been a pioneer for many years, like in there actually, not hiding, actually doing the work. And she was describing some of the challenges of being a pioneer, and she was literally quoting like word for word of what I've written down. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's not me. And my goal now, as I said, is that has been the journey. So the age that we've been in, the Piscean age before we entered the golden age or the Aquarian age, there's more support energetically now for us to actually go through a different journey. So if you want, I can tell you a little bit about that.
I just want you to know that George is asking if you can share that document, or if you have a link, and maybe you don't have a link yet, but.
Yeah, don't have a link yet because it's work in progress.
Okay.
But George, what you can do is, and everyone else, you can go to visionarysessions.com and click join tribe button, which is the email list. And then I will be publishing this more in visual form. So yeah, so this work, this body of work, the Visionaries Journey, will be coming out in lots of different pieces. So interviews, podcasts. So what I've realized is, because the Visionaries Journey is changing in a way that it's going to be more accelerated. So those 4 stages may still be there. They may change a little bit, but I believe they're going to be accelerated because of the age that we're in, where there's an acceleration of energy coming to the planet, of people waking up, of consciousness expanding. So instead of getting, I used to always say, a brick wall, you know, that I would present. I've been innovating in the marketing space and working with intuition, and realizing that a business is an entity, but it has its own personality, needs, values. So I started talking to the business when I was doing marketing instead of the founders, and realized that the business had this high level of intelligence. So I've been working like that for a few years. And, you know, people in the impact space, when I lived in Boulder, when I would give talks, you know, a lot of people resonated, a lot of people don't. So that, I was calling it a wall where you present your vision and innovation, and you just get like a brick wall look in front of you. So I believe that there's going to be less brick walls going on now that we're in this stage of awakening. So that means that this expansion and constant contraction, it's not going to happen as much. So you're going to be able to expand. And because we are bridges, so visionaries are bridges, so we need to communicate in a language that people can relate to. If we're using words in our group, you know, like ascension and codes and, you know, all of those things, which a lot of people that are visionaries relate to, it may not be the right languaging for the people that we are serving or that we're waking up. So there is that bridge, which sometimes can look like you are contracting a little bit. So I wanted to make that point. But yeah, so in other words, yeah. So basically there will be more of the Visionaries Journey. It will be more accelerated. There won't be as much time of contracting and having to do something that isn't completely in alignment. The other thing which is really important to note, the new path of the visionary, is that we're likely to be alive to see our vision fulfilled. So in the past, a lot of innovators, scientists, inventors, you know, they would bring through this work. And I even read this book by Napoleon Hill. Can't remember what it was called, but it was basically channeled. He had a conversation with the devil, essentially. And he couldn't release it back in those times because it was too controversial, and it would have wrecked all the other work that he did. And so it had to be hidden for a while until a few people in his family died. And so his work, that's an example of work that can't actually be fully, released, let alone realized. So I believe that we're going to actually, you know, especially visionaries at a millennial age and upwards, will actually be alive for their vision, even if it seems really big.
And you had a story that you wanted to tell us.
Yeah,
about
so
your own journey.
So the story about my calling, of why I feel that I need to work with visionaries, and just keep in mind that the word visionaries really became cemented for me more about a year ago. So before that, I was saying heart-driven entrepreneurs, change makers, leaders, disruptors, you know, so don't let the word visionary.
You dipped your toe in, like jump in the water, and now you've jumped in the water.
Yeah, I've jumped in the water because I needed to go through that visionary pathway myself. Mm-hmm. But when it became very clear that that's what I needed to do, and by that meaning that I'm here to actually work with other visionaries and leaders and remind them who they are and support them on their path of fully realizing and living and expressing their own talents and gifts in order to awaken humanity. So you can also call them emerging visionaries, so visionaries that are just coming out and realizing and ready to fully express their truth and how they're going to contribute to a better world. So they're the people that I'm primarily led to work with. I do, through visionary sessions, support visionaries that I'm calling re-evolving visionaries. So they've already been out there, they've presented their vision, and now it's going deeper. So I support both. But the real heart calling and where my coaching comes into place, and a book that I started to write 5 years ago, is really working with the emerging visionaries so they can remember who they are. So I'll tell you how that story started, because it's actually quite interesting, and it involves the Mayans, and it involves a book that I'm writing with the Mayans. So 2012 in December 21st was the end of the Mayan calendar. I was living in Vancouver, and I went to this dance event. It was a guided conscious dance event. So no alcohol, no drugs, no speaking, a moderator, and they just guide you through, like, it's like a somatic, like physical way of, you know, expressing and tuning into your heart and your intelligence. And there was a really nice person guiding it. And this was to do with us, the end of the Mayan calendar. So society coming into the golden age. So this age of awakening of consciousness, where we can actually work together as a society rather than against each other. So a very exciting time to be alive on the planet. So I went to this event, and at the time I was still developing my intuitive gifts. So when I was born, I could hear and see spirits, and I grew up quite religious. So there was a lot of fear associated with that. So I actually asked for them to be taken away because I couldn't handle them, and it was too much for me without having the support. So around 2010, when I first moved to Canada, I started working with other intuitives just to get confidence back, trust, get rid of that fear, fully embrace them. So again, that's part of the visionary's journey, where you have the gifts, you tone them down, and then you need to find that support and that trust to get them back. So I was going through that I must have been like 30, 31. And so I went through this ceremony and this dance, and there was this arch that they created that was made out of like twigs and leaves, and you walk through it, and then a woman dressed beautifully was there with sage, and she saged me and said, "Welcome to the golden age." And that was it. My whole life changed. And I remember New Year's Eve was like, 10 days after that, and I just remember it was New Year's Eve, and I'm like, whatever, this means nothing, like it's just another year, but we are in the golden age right now. And then I got called to go to Tulum, which is obviously where the Mayans existed and still do. So I went to Tulum a month later, and I'd never been there, and I went by myself, and I got this intuitive hit: you need to go to Chichen Itza and do a meditation out loud with an audience. And I'd been teaching yoga, so I'm used to teaching meditation. And so I found a girl that I got on well with from Vancouver, funnily enough, and we went there together. And at first I wasn't sure what to do, so I just did some mantras, which is what I was comfortable with. And at that time I was doing intuitive readings of using angel cards and inviting people's guides and angels to come through. I didn't really have experience of speaking to other non-physical beings too much at that point. So I was just there, I just, did a mantra, and then all of a sudden the Mayans started speaking through me. So I became a channel for the Mayans, and I just allowed it. And because I'm clairaudient, so how I receive my information is I hear it, and then I see it, and more recently it's been feeling as well. So the Mayans were speaking through me, and this amazing message was coming out, and it was basically, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Now is the time for us to rise. Now is the time to honor the calling that's inside of you. You will be supported. You cannot keep hiding in the shadows anymore. We're in the golden age. Now is your time. Now is our time. Was the message in essence. It's you. The world needs your voice, and the world needs your gifts. Stop hiding was the message. At the end, we were both crying, as you can imagine. It was so powerful. It was something that I could not only hear but feel. It's like it shifted my whole energy. And from that moment, I realized, stop selling out, stop hiding, stop dimming my light. It's safe. It's safe to actually come out. And that was 8 years ago. And it was still a slow journey since then. I still didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't know how to take it. I felt a bit alone. I realized I was a channel. I was too scared to admit it to people or really know what that was. So I still went on quite a big journey from there. But what I did do is I went back to Mexico almost every year since then with a phone recorder to many different mine sites, including Aztecs and Monte Alban. So I also went to Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City. And I continued my dialogue with the Mayans. And I started to realize I was speaking to the wisdom keepers and the gatekeepers. And every year that I went there, I would ask them questions, you know, like, why were you so powerful? Like, where are you now? Like, what happened? And, you know, just curious questions. And they answered me. And then they started to go a bit deeper and become my mentors. And they started to guide me on my journey of spiritual awakening, my journey as a visionary. So this book I've been writing for the past 5 years. I went to 9 mine ruins, I should say archaeological sites this year. So I was there in January and February. And I realized that the book that I'm creating is, right now I have the 5 stages of awakening, so of a visionary awakening, and therefore how they're going to awaken the planet. So the first one is remember who you are. Remember you're a visionary. Remember you're here to bring light to the planet, essentially. Number 2 is answer the calling. So you can't just remember it, you need to actually take action. So there's a calling that's deep inside of you. So you need to say, yes, I stand up, support me, please. Whoever's supporting you, your higher self, God, the Mayans, whoever it is on your journey. And then the 3rd stage, live from the heart. Less get out of the mind and the processes and the linear way of thinking, and be in the heart. Allow yourself to connect to that universal intelligence. Allow yourself to be able to tune in this collective intelligence that's coming down on the earth, not just from the Mayans, but also from all these other beings that are out there that are supporting the planet right now in the ascension process. And the 4th one is embodiment. What message are you bringing through? Words are not strong enough. It's your energy that's actually going to create the transformation. Okay, so I'm a storyteller and a copywriter, so I write poems now, it seems, as well. I've been able to channel poems from the elements. But the point is that words are not enough. So your energy needs to embody the message that you're bringing through. You need to actually be following what you're preaching. So that was the next stage. And the stage after that is managing your energy, being aware of your energy, because it's big. As visionaries, we have big energy. We walk into a room, often people can feel us. We need to be aware of that. We need to know how to cleanse it, how to make sure there's a lot of light, how to, be able to work with our shadows. And so it's very important to manage the energy. So they're the stages that have been revealed so far from the Mayans. And I wanted to finish my book a few years ago, because many times I've had months to just be in Mexico and go to all the ruins, go to Guatemala, but they kept telling me, no, you have to stop now and come back next year or the year after. So the journey continues with that book. But as I said, I feel that revealing the pathway and the journey of the visionary, I believe it's what is going to allow visionaries to A, identify themselves, B, know they're not alone, and C, just have the courage and go, okay, all right, I can see it's a journey. I'm okay. I accept that. This frustration, this unfulfillment, this constant having to hide, like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I forgive. I allow. I send love. I forgive myself. I forgive others. I accept. I bring love, and I expand.
Wow. As you step into saying yes to what you're what you're bringing in, what you have called in, what you're listening to, I can't imagine how it would be to be in Mexico or at an archaeological site and they say, nope, go home, come back next year. Yeah. And yes, no, yes. Maybe there wasn't an easy yes, or was it an easy yes?
Which part was an easy yes are you referring to?
Well, as you're journeying to the archaeological sites and wanting more at that time, and your guidance, your connection with the Mayans, and the teachers are saying, nope, not now, go home and come back in a year. I can't
Yeah, I
imagine
mean,
it's all that easy to just say yes because you're listening.
yeah, I think I'm used to it now because in 2017, when I was there again, I wanted to go to the main sites before I could finish my book. So that included Tikal in Guatemala, and Calakmul, which is in Campeche. So there was a few sites that I wanted to go to, and I had the time, I had the money, and it wasn't happening. And I was told just kind of focus on staying in the Quintana Roo, Yucatan states and not go to the other ones. So it was then that I was like, okay, so I need to actually integrate the teachings of the minds that's coming through myself and not just rush through the process. Because the process of awakening, it's, some people think, there's a few authors out there that they just woke up on the park bench and they're enlightened, or, just, like this instant quick thing. But a lot of people are not ready for that. Our nervous system, there needs to be a certain pace, there needs to be that implementation, the lessons learned, the reason that we're here as humans, or else we would just be here enlightened and awakened, right? So I realized I needed to trust the journey and keep with it. So when I planned my trip this year, I did ask them and I said, am I going to be able to go to Guatemala, to Tikal? Because that's essentially the last one on my list now, the last big Mayan ruin that I need to go to for the book. And they're like, no. And again, I had the time and money. You're not going to Guatemala. You have to come back later. So I knew when I was there this time that I was just there to just open and just allow what was going to come through. And I was able to deepen my relationship with them and actually, through that openness, receive more gifts of being able to upgrade physical spaces, which I didn't know I could do, and receive codes. So a lot of stuff happened to me this year because I went traveling for 2.5 months. I went to Bali before that. So I went to a lot of water temples there, which then prepared me for Mexico. And then I got back to Australia the week that the pandemic started. So all of that work that I did months before prepared me, and it allowed me to receive the download to launch Visionary Sessions, which was based on the premise that now is the time for us visionaries, for us individuals that have solutions for a better humanity. Stop being quiet. Stop repressing it. Stop putting up with the structures that aren't working, and actually speak up. So my platform is not for people that are famous and are already out there, that are, in all the summits that are happening right now, which is awesome because they're doing really good work. The platform is for emerging visionaries to broadcast their solutions, to share their voice, to co-create together. Because on one end, when somebody's working in the shared economy space or new economy space, there's other people that are actually doing something very similar in another part of the world. If they can share insights, if they can share models, what's working, co-create together, that's how we're going to create a new society. That's how, the co-creative model that Barbara Marx Hubbard, and whichever one you want to go to about what makes up a society, the different sectors of health, governance, finance, economics, whatever those sectors are, all need to be innovated right now. And the thing is that it may look like on the foreground that the world's tumbling up and is a mess. Yeah, I can see Mark's putting it up there now. So yeah, it may look like to many people, because we're in a time of the unknown, like this crumbling, and it's quite messy, this rebirthing process. So to a lot of people on the foreground, it looks like things are falling apart, and the transparency of why systems are not working are there. But really, in the background, I'm fortunate to be connected to a lot of visionaries. There's so many new systems that are being built. Like, there's this rising and this awakening going on simultaneously with the crumbling, right? So visionary sessions is what I created as a platform to, let's put all of these solutions out there, let's broadcast them live, let's get other people's, let's open source them, and not just be like, I'm one person that has this one solution. Open source it and share. And so I was able to build a community earlier this year of visionaries, and also attract emerging visionaries as well. People realizing, oh yes, okay, that's me and I'm ready. And usually they wouldn't have labeled themselves that. So that's what I was able to achieve this year during the pandemic. And I will be, in a few days from now, giving a presentation of how visionary sessions is actually, it's full vision. So beyond being an events platform, which it has been so far. So I will be presenting the vision on that. But today I really wanted to talk about the visionaries journey, because that's a huge part of what I believe. If you can identify that and resonate and relate, you can go through the journey quicker, and actually be able to make the change and the impact on the planet quicker.
So as I'm looking at your website and I see the 5 expressions of awakened leadership that you presented, looks like maybe it was a summit. You have embodiment, heart, service, love, and nature. And are those all podcasts? Are those all interviews?
Yeah, so visionary sessions, so far I did 3 series. So there was also one for World Unity Week. It was 2 panels.
Oh, that was okay.
So far they've been interactive events. So there's a presenter, and then there's a breakout room, and then there's a main floor discussion. So it's open source where everyone gets to contribute. And now it's also moving into interviews that are live events with contribution, and then also podcasts that are just straight interviews of visionaries and the work they're doing. So it's going to become more of a repository where you can go there and see past events, just the presentation parts, and then also interviews. So it's a one-stop place for solutions for humanity to be found and also shared. So that's the way that it's going.
Well, I look forward to be interviewed by you for that, because as you're talking, I'm like, yep. And in 2005, I downloaded, I think, my vision for createYES, Your Essential Self, a series of exercises and processes and experiential ideas for your toolkit to shift and change and become your essential self. And then certain things in life happened, and that took that absolutely not on the table as something I could focus on. And to keep my kid alive, he was born with cystic fibrosis, so my focus shifted. And I have a friend who said, well, you don't put that out there, because then you lose your credibility. And I'm like, I absolutely put that out there, because it was birthed then, and I had to go through these 12 years of many different experiences in that time, which fit in what you're describing as that contraction. And it absolutely fits that paradigm. So I was like, okay, I am interviewing you as the person that you are describing. It's like every step of the way as you're describing it. And yes, in some ways I think of myself as visionary, but I haven't been out there. So what does that really mean? Am I? Because I'm not out there. Well, I'm getting out there now. See, here we are together. We have been brought together on purpose. And I love sharing the part that, yes, that came in 2005, but it wasn't its time. Now is its time. And in fact, I don't know if you know Gustavo.
Yep.
Yes. So, and he was on talking about your essential self. And I'm like, oh, well, It was just interesting to have that literal name definition of what we do be the same. So it is time now to shift into that next place. And I really look forward to seeing how Visionary Sessions grows and collects these stories that you have as vision for that.
Yeah, and also, the work that I've been called to do is also the supporting the emerging visionaries, so giving them the tools to help them through their pathway of their own awakening, and then how that leads to their contribution to awakening on the planet. So in that form, the book will be ready when it's ready. So I have been told by the Mayans it's just one more visit and then I can complete it. But because of the pandemic, I was meant to go in November, but we can't actually leave Australia. It's quite strict here. So once I can leave Australia, which may not be for another year, I will go straight to Guatemala and finish it. So I have the book, which is, so those pathways of awakening for the visionary, I'm also making into a mentorship program. So I will be doing a live, weekly. There'll be different, whether it's a mentorship or like me coaching or bringing somebody else in, masterminds. So I am putting into place now support for visionaries in the form of group coaching. And I have an oracle card deck, which is I am 44 qualities of the soul. So it's basically reminding you of who you are. So you'll pull a card and say, I am awakened. I am consciousness. I am unconditional love. I am connected. So that's almost finished as well. So I have a bunch of tools, coaching, some things that I'm now ready to bring out there to the world and concentrate on a little bit more, because that's where I'm at in my journey, as well as supporting Visionary Sessions platform. So that's where I'm at now. And, the question of, I could have done this years ago. I started the book 5 years ago. I started the card deck. I lived in Costa Rica and spent like 2.5 months just writing a book, a different book, not the mind book, that went with the card deck. Why didn't I publish it? Because I needed to embody more. I needed to go on a bit more of my own journey. The world wasn't ready. Yes, we were in the golden age, 2012, but it's not, I didn't realize it wasn't until 2020 that, that's when the world's ready, and that's when I've been more ready. So just saying that, like, don't be frustrated with yourself, if anyone, okay? So if there was some insights that came to you, the calling, clarity, I've been clear for very years because that's one of my gifts, but why didn't I do it? Not because I'm scared or that I'm not a good business person or I'm not this. There's nothing negative. It's all perfect timing. It's all part of the journey. And when you said that, are you a visionary because you haven't done anything? I'm saying that there's, first of all, you're born a visionary, okay? So a visionary when they're born is not taking action, but they're still a visionary. So being a visionary doesn't directly relate to action, okay? It's a role. It's a purpose. Some people are visionaries, some people support visionaries, right? Because a vision is so big that you need a lot of people to bring it into life. So some people are not there to actually get the vision, but they're there to resonate and align with it and support the visionaries. So Visionary Sessions platform also attracts those people. So they're contributors, co-creators. And the other point that I wanted to make was there's emerging visionaries. So if you haven't put your work out there and you're still getting clear what it is and putting it out there, as your business offering, you're an emerging visionary, okay? So you still are a visionary. And then people like us, Victoria, because I'm not saying that you're an emerging visionary, is I'm calling us that have already put stuff out there for a few years and maybe it hasn't gone to exactly the big fruition and impact as much as some others, a re-evolving visionary. And those that are out there that have been visionaries for a while, they're still re-evolving visionaries, because during this time they've actually gone in, and a lot of them have paused a bit and they're like, how can I redevelop and re-expand, and what's shifting now that the collective is shift towards my vision. So visionaries are always re-evolving. It's not just like, here's this one vision and this one pathway and that's it. So you can look at yourself as emerging and re-evolving. It's not finite. A vision is not finite. A process is not finite. A model is not finite. Everything needs to be looked at in that present moment. Does this still resonate? How does it relate to the collective? How does the communication still be a bridge? Because when I worked with a lot of startup founders in the impact space in Denver and Colorado in 2018. They had a lot of platforms, and I would do like a marketing strategy session where I would communicate to the entity of their business, and I would bring through, this is the vision, this is how you're going to change the world, this is how you're going to change government policies, the education system. I was able to, you know, through tuning into a universal heart intelligence, see that, and they're like, oh, well, I'm here and there's that, how am I going to achieve it? And I said, one of the most important steps is education. And education is speaking, videos, podcasts, content. It doesn't have to be like the traditional sense of education. So that's a big part of being able to, for people to understand and want to, you know, be part of your vision. So I believe that that education part that may have taken many years in the past is going to be accelerated now. So that's another point that I really want to make. And that also goes on energetic resonance. So when I put for visionary sessions, when I got the download, I typed it all up, and because I'm a designer, I built and designed the website really quickly, actually. And because there was like an energetic transmission of the vision, so it wasn't just words, sure, I'm a good copywriter, but I downloaded the words and there was an energetic transmission. That's what attracted people to the vision. That's how I got 30 people at the first 3 sessions without doing any paid advertising from all around the world. So basically, it's really important to know that, yeah, the energetic transmission is a big part of how you educate, embody, and also relay your vision and your message.
As you were speaking a little bit earlier about how this is going to work and what you're offering will include, you mentioned tools for business or the structure. You mentioned something related to business, and that sparked my interest, you know, personally speaking. And I don't know how much of a paradigm definition this is, but I don't know how many visionaries are in that ebb and flow of their work. I have had this, I come from this place of, I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by connection. I'm motivated by relationship. I'm not motivated by money. So guess what? I don't have any. That's kind of how life is when you don't care about money and you don't decide that it's going to come your way. And I'm in this place of shifting. So I have connected with more people who are guides and their guides channel. It's like, oh, I have guides. Oh, I have an interviewer guide. Oh, I have what? And part of that also included, you do not have an energetic blueprint for how to bring income like that. I mean, in my past lifetimes, and I could talk about them, but it's not the time. But I don't have that blueprint. So it's like, now is your time to learn. So now is my time to learn. It's like, yes, okay, I'm saying yes, it's time. And so that got my interest. It's like, giving.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So what I found being a marketer, so my role as a marketer was more the foundational part. Okay, so people, they have this idea, you know, they'll put a website up, have a product or service, and then just start spending money on advertising, right? And then what happens? People come back to their website or their point of source that they've referred the ad to, and they're like, I don't quite understand what's going on. So I say to people, you need to get the foundation set first. So what's your purpose? You know, so what impact are you creating on the planet? How are you doing that? What are you offering? What's your product or service? Who are you serving? What are their needs? How are you fulfilling their needs? Basic marketing questions. So that's what I always. Oh, okay. Sorry, I say that like if you're a marketer.
Basic. It is basic information. But if you're someone who doesn't operate with marketing as part of the normal operating system, then it sounds simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, and even so, yeah, when I speak with marketers and I say that, they're like, yeah, of course. Like, what else would you do? So when I started channeling that information, it went beyond guesswork. So instead of me going, well, I believe that these are the problems that your audience has, and this looks like how you're solving it. But once you start using intuition, it opens up to this universal intelligence, and you get everything in alignment. This is exactly what your purpose is. This is your products and services now. You're also going to be doing this and this. These are the pain points of your audience right now. So this is how you need to communicate to them right now because of where they're at. So all of that becomes revealed when I do my blueprint sessions. They take, it's 2 workshops to do them. So 2 3-hour workshops. We do the business first and then the customer, the second part. So I've been doing that for many years and giving people this roadmap to success. Okay. So what I started to realize was you can have the vision, you can have the pathway to get there, but if you're using old structures that are not connected to you being a visionary of making the world a better place, okay, so you can have good visions around technology, and you know, technology definitely allows us to live more convenient lives and connect us. I'm talking about being a visionary of, you know, a rising humanity, creating heaven on earth. Okay, so when you're a visionary that's coming from the heart, that's honoring a calling, that is bringing through something that feels bigger than you, if you continue to work with the corrupt system within business, you're not going to succeed. So that's what started to happen. I'm like, how is it that I'm giving people this map to the treasure of how their business is going to succeed, how they're going to align to their purpose, their perfect strategies, and why are they still like hitting a ceiling? And I realized because there's 4 premises in business of how it operates: fear, scarcity, profit first, and self-gain. So no matter how conscious your intention is, if you've got this fear, if there's competitors out there, I don't use the word competitors, I say partners, co-creators, other people with a similar vision, you know, so all of that energy, you are not going to deliver your vision. So I realized that there's new ways of operating that have started to come through. So being in the heart, allowing energetic transmission versus words. Events, for example, not having one-way conversations with events. There needs to be people in the audience when you get, and this is the premise of visionary sessions too. I would go to these big events like impact-driven conscious business events, and there's just speakers there and no one in the audience gets to contribute. And there is so much gold and gems in the audience. Imagine if they had a chance to contribute to what was being presented. So that's another way of how we need to operate more in our businesses. So I started to see that there was all these new ways of, new premises of marketing coming through. So I started to put them together and apply them into my business. And that also goes to digital marketing. There's a lot of scarcity, one size fits all models, self-gain going on in the digital marketing space. So I really believe that there's a lot of innovation that needs to take place there. So I'm looking to partner with someone that specializes in that, because as I said, I'm the beginning part of marketing. So there's a lot of opportunities within culture. How do you show up as a leader? Do you have a flat model or a hierarchy model? Like there's so many ways of operations in business that can be more awakened. So that's why I was also focusing in the conscious business space. So where I personally innovate in the conscious business space is around the marketing and the leadership and bringing about new ways of expression and getting information. So yes, so I do the first part where we, Spirit and myself, we help you get clear with who you're serving, your business, getting like a real good foundation, and then also how to operate in these more aligned ways when it comes to how you put your message out there, the vehicles that you use, the way that you co-create with others. So that Awaken Leader group mentorship program, it's called the Awaken Leader. So I am going to launch that soon. It also includes a mastermind. So every month we'll be going through one of these Awaken business principles and we'll be open sourcing it. So when I work with visionaries, it's not just about helping them get clear on their life purpose, which is another session I do. What's your life purpose? What are your talents? What are you contributing to the world? And then the blueprint is how your business actually is able to be a vehicle for your purpose and impact as a visionary. So the Awakened Leader is supporting you as a visionary, and you awakening your gifts, and then also giving you tools in business in this new way of operating from the heart. So
Well,
yeah, it's taking a bit more of a holistic approach.